Good evening and welcome to the show tonight. Over the last few weeks, we have spoken to a multitude of individuals from all backgrounds, but we haven't spoken to somebody who has been an entrepreneur and gone on to create a network of investors and find companies that interest them, coach them, and put them up in front for investment. Tonight, I have the honor to welcome Mr. Devang Raja of of Venture Wolf and have a chat with him and pick his brain so that we can get some practical insights on what is happening. We hear a lot of noise in the system, a lot of money is bandied about, a lot of money is talked about, but most of the time it goes to a very few companies, and the largest amounts go there, and the rest are left with nothing. That's not to say that the ecosystem has not developed. I mean, for those of us who are older, in the last 10 years, the ecosystem has developed so much that it's just surprising, and that's a good thing. So, Devang, I know you've been an entrepreneur and invest now you wear the hat of mentor, coach, and investor. What was your entrepreneurship journey like, and how is it different from what people are going through today?
True, absolutely. Thanks, Nalin, first of all, for inviting me over. It's a real pleasure to be talking to you. And hello to everybody who's attending the show today. So to start off with, yes, the entrepreneurial journey, I think it will remain challenging, irrespective. I do it, you do it, or someone else does it, right? The beginning, it's not going to be easy. The journey is not going to be easy, but if you are firm and committed to what you want to do, then this is a journey out there for you. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be exciting. That's what I can tell you. And that's how my journey has been so far, right? So while I started, let me quickly give you a background about how did it all start with me. And then probably we can take the conversation ahead from there, right?
Sure.
So I work with companies like Capita, Willis, Prudential UK, all Europe-based companies for around about 12, 13 odd years. And then one fine day I said, I don't want to do a job anymore. And that's how I left my job and started my entrepreneurial journey. Was it easy? The answer is no. Your parents, your family members, everyone will come back and tell you, you have a good job on hand. Why do you want to leave that job? Continue doing that job. You've risen in ranks in your job. Continue doing that, and you'll continue doing better in your job. But then there's something within you that tells you, no, this is not for me. I want to do something on my own. And that's how that bug bit me. And I left my job and started my entrepreneurial journey. To be honest, how did it all start? I started by washing cars myself at one point in time, right? However, over a period of time, I realized that I'm good at investment banking. And that's how I shifted my journey to investment banking. And wherein during the whole tenure of my entrepreneurship, I came across a lot of investors and started making the investor base. And that's how we are at a 3,000 plus investor base at this point in time as Venture Wolf.
So this is what, 8 years, 5 years? How long ago is it since you started Venture Wolf?
5 years. 5 years.
Do you see
It's been 5 years that I started Venture.
Yeah. Do you see a shift in how entrepreneurs approach it today versus 5 to 10 years ago? Is the journey different?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think today's ecosystem within last 5 years has changed a lot. You have so much of support today, right? People are ready to invest in good projects and good entrepreneurs. If you have the energy, if you have good concept, if you have a great team, if you know how to do business, people are there to come and join hands with you, right? Which was probably not the situation 5 or 10 years earlier. Today, look at the startups. They are getting funded left, right, and center, right? I'm not saying all startups are getting funded. Still, the proportion is 1:10, right? Only one startup or two startups might be out of 10 startups will get funded, right? But the number of investors have increased, right? Which means your opportunity to get investment from market has also increased. The number of ideas in markets have increased, which means if you have an idea, if someone else has an idea, else also has a similar kind of idea, you don't need to make all the mistakes yourself. Someone else also makes that mistake and you learn from them, right? Along with the competition, you grow together. So there are, I think the entrepreneurship has changed a lot. The ecosystem overall has changed a lot in last 5 years. So, and I think this is the best time for anybody to start their business.
Yeah. One of the things,
or a startup.
I agree with you. One of the things I notice is that sometimes there are more mentors and advisors around than there are genuine entrepreneurs. Sometimes it seems like that. When when you look at this from that angle, and all these advisors are telling startup founders what not to do, but what are the one or two things that they must do? I mean, it's easy to say what not to do and what's a mistake, but what should they do? What are the couple of things that come to your mind?
Sorry, Nalin, I lost your voice in between. But if I guess the question is around mentorship, is that correct?
Yeah, I want to know what entrepreneurs are often advised what not to do, right?
Right,
So
right,
my
right.
question
Absolutely.
is, what are the one or two things that come to your mind that you would advise entrepreneurs to do in India? What to do?
Okay, 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 right. So, a couple of things I would advise an entrepreneur to do is to have a firm idea. First of all, you need to, if you think you have a good idea, pen it down, start penning it down. Create a small document. I'm not talking about a complete full-fledged pitch deck at this point in time because you still have a lot of ideas running through your mind, right? But start penning it down. Why? Because when you think, it's there in your mind, but when you pen it down, you go back to those points, think over it again. You talk to your friends or a co-founder, so-called co-founder, if you're looking forward to have a co-founder in your company, right? Start penning things down. Slowly and steadily, you'll have a long list of things that you want to do or should do in your business, which will not only start off with your business idea, but will also talk about your business strategy,
I think we've momentarily lost Devang, but his is a remarkable story from washing cars to discovering investment banking and then creating a network of 3,000 investors in Venture Wolf. Yes, Devang, continue.
Hi. Yeah, hi, sorry. So the link got lost. Yeah, so
Go ahead.
start penning it down. You'll have a lot of ideas running through your mind. It's not only going to be your idea that you'll pen down, but your business model, what kind of customers do you look at, your target audience, your segmentation, your positioning of product. And once you start jotting these things down, then start talking to your team. What kind of people do you want to work with, right? Have a fair, clear idea of what you should do. Start off with that. That's what I would say, right? Once you have a fair idea, once you identify your co-founder, obviously, so when we talk, it's going to be very, very easy and smooth, but it's not going to be that smooth in the real life. Okay, so you'll have to go and identify your co-founders, whom you want to work with, your team, the background that you guys come from. Do you have the financial ability or the backing to sustain yourself for X number of months or years, as the case may be, right? Think on all these lines before you get into a startup or entrepreneurship. It's very, very important. Another
So,
thing that I would say is once you have made a firm decision to get into a business, to start your own startup, right? Get basic things ready. Do your POC, create a POC, proof of concept, create a product or a service that you want to go out and deliver in market. You've identified a problem, you've identified how to solve that problem. Do a POC now. It's called proof of concept. Once you've done, how do you do a proof of concept? You create your product or a service, you go out to your closed circuit group, could be your family members, your friends, your co-founders,
let's wait while he rejoins. But the point he was making was that don't just jump into something blindly. Make sure that you have got a good your idea documented. You have got a good set of co-founders around you, and you have created a basic proof of concept. And that is where we lost him. So I'll ask him to continue from there. So you were telling us about
yeah,
what is a proof of concept.
correct. So once you've developed your product or a service, then what you do is you go out to a closed circuit group, right?
Okay.
And test your product and service. Are they liking your product? What's the feedback that your friends, your family members are giving you, right? You develop, redevelop the product, you pivot your product, develop and redevelop your product accordingly. And then finally, once you have your product ready, then you start. If you have your own funds, fantastic. I think you need to start your marketing, start acquiring customers, because if you have some traction, better, good for the investors as well.
Okay, we are playing hooky with the network today. Uh, One of the prices we pay in this age of the technology. Yes, you were talking about connecting with investors.
Right. So that when you go and talk to investors, you have some clients or people whom you've catered your services to or given your products to. Right. It helps you talk better to investors. Start doing all these things. I think this is some basic. These are some basic things that you should do before approaching an investor.
So a lot of people pitch to you, right? I mean, your life must be full of entrepreneurs trying to pitch to you. Are there one or two traits that you find off-putting when an entrepreneur comes first time and pitches to you? Devang, can you hear me?
No, Nalin, I lost you in between. Sorry, what's the question here?
Do you find a couple of things that are, like off-putting when somebody pitches to you first time, complete stranger, the some things they say, etc., that are off-putting for you as an investor?
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, Nalin, but I think there's some technical issues with internet out here. Do you want to
No
repeat
problem.
that question once for me, please,
Yeah.
or put it on a chat? And put it on a chat. Probably I'll pick it up from there.
Okay, I'll try. But can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Perfect.
Yeah. So I was asking you that people often pitch to you. Your life day must be full of people pitching to you. Do you find some things about
True.
entrepreneurs, the way they pitch, that is off-putting to you, that puts you off? Some things they say or some things they do.
That, yeah, that puts me off. I think a lot of entrepreneurs they think raising funding is their birthright, and that's really yeah. So when someone talks to you and you give them feedback on what they need to do, they think we know it all, and raising funding is their birthright. So if an investor says a no, so we normally do not say a no to anybody upfront because we don't like to demotivate any entrepreneurs, right? Because we understand a lot of entrepreneurs would be raw, they are still learning a lot of things, they could be just out of college, or they've done jobs but have never faced this entrepreneurial journey, and we understand all of that, so we never deny anyone on the face. But a lot of times we see entrepreneurs coming back to us and saying, Devang, you probably don't know, I know it all. And I'm like, okay, brilliant, thanks then.
That's interesting. I often say the same thing. Funding is not a birthright.
Yeah.
Birthright. Create value before you think of valuation. But talking about valuation, it is the one area where first-time entrepreneurs struggle the most. How much to give, how much to ask. What's your advice over there?
True. I think when it comes to talking to an investor with the initial call or a pitch deck, I think it's important that you give that amount of information which is necessary to generate that interest in an investor. However, you need to create some things unanswered so that the investor gets back to you and says, yeah, wow, fantastic. The concept is interesting. I like it, but I need to understand a little more. And that's how you click off a conversation with an investor. Right. And that's where your good pitch decks, your good concept notes come into play.
What about valuation? How does an entrepreneur decide how much money to ask for and how much equity to give?
So, Nalin, vaguely I've understood your question. It's about valuation. How do you decide a valuation, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So again, it all depends on what stage are you at. If you are at a very, very early stage, I think investors also understand it's difficult for anybody to determine a value of your company at this point in time. And most of the investors will give you money and tell you we will probably decide a valuation on a lump sum basis, or probably decide the valuation at a formal round when an institutional investor or the next round happens. Right. That's how the industry works at this point in time. Having said that, I think a lot of entrepreneurs today are overvaluing their companies. It's important that you don't overvalue. At the same time, it's important that you don't undervalue as well, right? It needs to be a fair valuation. Any difference of more than 15-20%, your deal is not going to go through. So you need to be very, very true to yourself and to the investors, and fair to yourself and to the investors when it comes to valuation. That's what I would say.
Should they take expert
If you have an
advice,
opportunity, if you think you can get a formal valuation done from if you think you can get a formal valuation done, get it done if possible.
True. Right now, what are the sectors that are exciting you? I mean, in this middle of the pandemic, we keep hearing about all this
Oh, yes.
for no shortage of funds, but where is it going?
True, true, absolutely. So while during pandemic, healthcare, edutech, all these sectors had flourished because everyone was working from home, right? But I think post pandemic, let me talk about post pandemic so that we talk about the futuristic approach here, right? I think even today, micro logistics is going to be a game changer for me, if you ask me. Anything to do with travel and tourism, once these lockdowns and all these things are over, people will move out. They've got really fed up sitting at homes, so everyone wants to go out. I think travel and tourism is gonna see a big boost. People again, so a lot of restaurants, QSRs have opened up, but there's a still big scope where people want to go out, enjoy with friends, family. That segment will see a big boost in near future. So these kind of segments will definitely, and again, so healthcare, education, fintech always remains a very dear space, right? So these are the segments that we will be closing watching at.
Yeah. So, as we have seen the pandemic and there has been a lot of economic hit, right? Uh, at the same time, we observe the stock market going through the roof, and the common people can't
Oh
understand
yes,
it. The bond rates are at a pretty high rate, 1.4, 1.5% globally, in the US at least.
true,
And inflation is high.
true.
Uh, People are distressed. There are no jobs. Yes, there is liquidity. Countries have pumped money into the system. But what is driving these astronomical valuations in the stock exchange?
So again, so I think the current market is overvalued. However, when you see news, there's a lot of still upside left in market. That's what people say, right? I personally, I am not invested in any stocks at this point in time. There are a few stocks, but yeah, talking about stock market listed markets, I think there's a lot of money coming in and will still keep flowing in because I think a lot of companies, big companies, have made some good money. While local players or the local companies, the small and medium companies have not been able to do their business, bigger companies like Amazon and Reliance and all these companies have made some good money, and that's the money that these guys are putting it back into the market via the stock exchange. So we'll still see good money coming in.
What's your,
Also, I think foreign money is also pouring in, right? So
yeah,
we will definitely see some more upside.
yeah. What's happening in the tier two and tier three towns of India in the startup space? I mean, I haven't been there for 2, 3 years, but is it picking up? Are other cities coming up?
So sorry, Nalin, I'm not getting the question. I'm missing your voice.
Okay, I was asking about tier two and tier three towns. Is there a lot of startup action there now?
Right. So tier two, tier three, I am seeing a lot of pitch decks coming from tier two, tier three, which is very good. There's a lot of opportunity in tier two, tier three, especially when it comes to even in the interiors as well. So I see a lot of startups coming on from the agro side, poultry side, these kind of things, which is very good, right? Milk industries, I'm seeing a lot of startups based out of milk and milk production and those kind of things. We're working with one company that's into seafood and processed seafood products, right? So yeah, we are working with a lot of these companies as well, which is very good. There's a lot of scope. Why should you limit startups only to tier one cities like Bangalore, Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, these kind of places, right? Everyone has the right and opportunity to start their own business. The problems are there in tier two, tier three as well. There's a large chunk of people sitting out there in tier two, tier three. If you can start solving their problems, I think it's going to be good for everybody. And it's a good big opportunity out there as well.
Couldn't agree more. So you must have worked with hundreds of companies, right, in the last 5 years. Which one or two companies that have given you the greatest satisfaction?
Uh, I think that's a very difficult question for me to answer. But I think a lot of companies. So right now, let me name one of the companies. I'm working with one of the QSR burger chains based out of Bangalore, right?
Mhm.
I think that's one of the better companies that I'm working with. I've worked with them for last around about 1.5, 2 years. We're raising around $5 million for them at this point in time. So their journey has been fantastic. So these guys started off with an initial budget of 50,000, 1 lakh rupees, and today they are operating 32 franchises in India, burger franchises. They are into grilled burgers. So when you look at entrepreneurs like them and their journey, and when you work with them hand in glove, it's really exciting because it's not only giving them mentorship, but you too learn a lot of things from these kind of entrepreneurs. Humble background.
True, true. So, right at the start of the show, you said something about washing cars to becoming an investment banker. How did that happen?
All right. Okay. So that's a really a funny story, but let me tell you that. So while I was working in corporates, one day I came back home and I saw boys washing cars in my building, and I just happened to call one of them and I asked him, "So how much do you charge for washing a car?" And he said 500 rupees approximately for one car. And I just started calculating things. I said, "How many cars do you wash?" So he said, "Me and my full team, we guys wash around 500 cars every day. So in your building and the building besides that and besides that, so we've got a huge complex, around 500 odd cars." I said, "Wow. And how much time do you guys spend doing this?" So he said, "We guys reach here around 4:30 in morning and leave by around 8:30." I said, "Wow, fantastic. 4.5, 5 hours, you guys make 2,50,000 per month as a team. And how much do you pay them?" So I started calculating all these things and I said, "Wow, that's a fantastic business to get into." And that's how I started my entrepreneurial journey. So I wanted to organize the unorganized sector of daily car cleaning, and that's how my entrepreneurial journey started.
Oh, that's interesting. And you actually studied investment banking after that or before that?
No, before that. So all my studies have happened before, and after that, it's all business. So last 5 years, I've been with Venture Wolf now. Nothing in between.
Okay. And what is Venture Wolf like? I mean, how are you structured? How do you operate?
So I am based out of Mumbai. We've got a very small team. So earlier we used to operate out of 7 cities in India, but we had to pull back our chapters due to a few reasons. But yeah, currently me and my team are operating out of Mumbai. We've got a small team of 3 people here in Mumbai, and we guys are quite happy with that. However, having said that, we have a lot of tie-ups across cities. So a lot of channel partners we have all across cities, from Delhi,
And
Bangalore, Chennai,
yeah.
these kind of places.
And is your investor
Yeah.
network largely India based or you've got a mix from all over?
So again, so our investors could be based out of India, Middle East, Singapore, Israel, UK, Europe, Japan, outside of India as well. They could be HNI, private investors, family offices, VC firms, international funds, impact funds as well, right? So you work with a large area of investors. The ticket size starts anywhere from 1 CR, can go up to 100 CR. We've got the ability to pull in multiple investors to close a larger round if required. So that's what we do.
Are investors picky about ESG or impact, social impact, anything like that, or not really?
I'm sorry.
I said, are investors increasingly more focused on ESG initiatives, social impact, things like that, or not really?
Again, so depends on investor to investor. Each investor has their own taste, right? Has his own taste. uh, while our investors could be sector specific, they look at
Mhm.
sector specific deals. We guys are sector agnostic, so we know exactly which investor is investing in which segment, in which sector, what's their investment ticket size, who's into the investing mode, who's into the harvest mode. So we keep a very close track of all these things, right? However, to answer your question, the impact investors will invest in impact based segments. Your sector specific investors will invest in sectors that are there in their area of interest, but we know who's investing where, so that's where our niche lies basically.
So let me wrap up with my final question. You've had a remarkable journey, and I know Venture Wolf is, from what you describe and what I've heard, is doing wonderful work. Personally, for you, what excites you now? What are you looking forward to?
I think, yeah, absolutely. I think talking to entrepreneurs, listening to their concepts, creating entrepreneurs, as our tagline says, Venture Wolf's tagline is creating entrepreneurs. So every time I create an entrepreneur, I feel happy and satisfied. So let me give you an example. So there's one of the startup which we've just recently got funded. They are getting funded, right? Uh, the founder is a very fantastic guy. we connected him to a lot of investors, but things were not going through because of COVID and those things. And then finally, we found him an investor, and today we see the joy on his face. Right? He's so happy that his dream is coming true, and that's where I get my joy from. When I see entrepreneurs coming up with good ideas, we get them funded, we groom them, we mentor them, and then finally we say creating entrepreneurs. So that's what gives me kick today.
Thank you, Devang. You've been a fantastic guest. Your insights, your straight talk, and no sugarcoating is exactly what entrepreneurs need. I believe too many of them are being mollycoddled nowadays, because even in schools we see children get certificates just for turning up, just for participating. No longer is it a competition, but when they come in the entrepreneurial life, it's not that easy, right? Life's difficult. I've seen your other videos where you've talked about that, and today you said you hit the nail on the head when you said funding is not a birthright. So thank you very much for that. Wonderful having you on the show. I wish Venture Wolf all the best, and have a great
Thank,
evening.
thank you. Thanks, Nalin. All the best to you and your team as well. Thank you. Thanks for
Thank
having me
you.
over. Thank you. Thank you. Take care.